Good morning. Welcome again to the SHEAR annual meeting. My name is Wouter Buytaert. I'm based at Imperial College London, and I'm the PI of the Landslide Evo project, one of the consortium projects of the SHEAR program. And in the next 10 minutes, I would like to give a short overview of how SHEAR as a program has advanced in terms of data collection, data analysis, but also converting data into useful, actionable knowledge that can be used to build resilience to natural disasters. I've done this work together with Johnny Paul, who was a former postdoc on Landslide Evo and is now a lecturer in Royal Holloway University of London. And the way that we've taken up this challenge is by contacting the various SHEAR PIs and essentially requesting input, a couple of slides on summarizing how their project has contributed to data. And then we've assembled those slides, done only a little bit of light touch editing, but essentially letting the slides speak for themselves. So see myself as a kind of slide jockey. I won't go into too much detail. I don't have the knowledge of each of those projects, but rather just want to give a high-level overview of some of the input that we've received. It also means that I will go too fast and have too many slides with too much information to assimilate within 10 minutes, but that is deliberate, because the beauty of a pre-recorded presentation is that you can always go back, pause and read the slides in detail. So please bear with me and don't let yourself being caught in the information overload that will result from the slides as I'll go through them. But I very much hope that they are a starting point and spark some interest and ideas that you can discuss in more detail throughout these 2 days, and obviously do please get in touch with the team behind each of those projects for further questions and discussion. So without further ado, I'll just give a quick overview of the 5 projects that got back to us. And again, I know that this is not exhaustive, but see them as examples of the variability, the breadth and the reach of the activities that SHEAR as a project as a program has managed to achieve. And the first project is Boulder, which is a project that focuses on developing early warning systems for landslide, flood hazards, disaster evaluation and resilience in mountain regions. And one particular aspect of this project is the development and the exploration of low-cost technology to build sensors which can be attached to boulders and sense when they start moving. And then if you couple that to real-time data transmission systems, you can use them to build real-time early warning systems to warn people when boulders start moving and the risk for landslide movement occurs. And there is a lot of technology behind this, which I won't go into detail. Lots of successes, clearly some very useful and interesting information that has been generated. So here's some quick results of how effectively the sensors worked, and we're able to transmit and to sense and transmit relevant and useful information. At the same time, also a couple of very clear challenges, particularly in relation to the technology. The big challenge, as we know also from the Landslide Evo project, in these with setting up these systems is deciding on which technology to use and to find that sweet spot between low-cost technology, which makes things affordable, but at the same time, obviously, you need technology that is sufficiently reliable to be sufficiently precise. For instance, one aspect that turned out to be a challenge here in Boulder is the performance of the GPS, which needs to be accurate enough to detect slight movements of those boulders. So find that optimal technological balance between affordability and quality and reliability of instruments. Again, just very quick overview here, and please do get in touch with the Boulder people in case you have further questions or queries. We move on to the WeAct project, which tackled a similar challenge, but not focusing on landslides, but rather glacier lakes outburst floods, which indeed are very often triggered by mass movements of moraine deposits. And so they also explored new technology to detect any movements, but in this case, mass movements of those moraines and transmit that to support potential early warning. And here you see some results of time series in which that shows that the GPS receivers, in this case, were able to pick up slight variations, order magnitude of centimeters, of different those different deposits. So again, a highly successful case study and trial that yielded a lot of technical insights in exactly what the purpose or what the potential is of new technologies to build and to support novel early warning systems, which of course rely strongly on local data and monitoring, which is a big challenge in the often very remote and harsh conditions where these events occur. The WeAct project not only experimented with local new in situ technology, but also remote sensing. And here are some examples of the use of satellite-based observations, Sentinel-2 in particular, to observe changes in the glacial lake extent, evolution of these glacial lakes, which is another key aspect to monitor those and to understand when they get to a critical point where glacial lake outburst floods might happen. The project also has done all the work in simulating and building models with those data. Again, I won't go into too much detail on this, but just show some of those results and obviously invite people to get in touch with the WeAct team to discuss these results into more detail. The next project is Fathom, focusing on global floods forecasting and particularly improving, fostering the adoption of the global flood awareness system, GLOFAS, developed by ECMWF in Reading, and being one of the first systems that really has a global reach and therefore potentially very useful in data scarce regions like Africa. And a particular activity they wanted to highlight here is summer placements of African hydrometeorologists visiting the University of Reading last year, summer 2019, and using that as an opportunity to interact with the GLOFAS team and the researchers at Reading to try and improve and explore how what is needed to adopt GLOFAS as a system in the data scarce regions like Africa. Again, just a quick overview. Please get in touch with the Fathom team to discuss further details. A similar project is NFLIX, which also worked in Africa and looked at the adoption of forecasting tools and methods to improve local resilience building, and with a particular emphasis on how to build institutional capacity. How can you do workshops? How can you understand better what is needed? How institutional capacity building can be used to reduce some of those bottlenecks of adoption of forecasting systems. In addition to obviously the typical or the technical constraints of IT systems in country and how to develop new tools that can help with this. That's also something that the High Floods project did, but more focusing on hazard mapping, and it using also here new data sources, the high resolution MERIT DEM, for instance, as a novel source of remotely sensed information that can be used to map hazards to fluvial flooding. Combining that with training in places like the Democratic Republic of Congo, and combining that with high resolution data on intense rainfall events to address and to characterize exposure to events like cyclones, Idai and Kenneth. And then lastly, finishing off with a couple of slides from our own project, Landslide Evo, which looked into citizen science in particular and participatory approaches to co-generate locally relevant actionable knowledge on disaster risk reduction, and particularly looking at the various aspects of the whole workflow of knowledge creation, from data collection to processing to interpretation, reflection and interaction. And particularly two activities I would like to highlight. One is on what we call citizen science in schools, where together with secondary schools in the Canale Basin, we installed local rain gauges and compared those data to, if you will, a professional rain gauge nearby to see how well, or to evaluate the quality of citizen science collected data, which is often one of the main hesitations or the bottlenecks for adoption in an operational context. Again, I won't go into detail, but here just a quick slide that compares the official rain gauge in red with the citizen science data, and actually showing a really good match between the two data, giving them those data credibility for operational purposes. And the last technology is the use of LiDAR, being a low-cost technology to measure water level in a cost-effective and power-efficient way. So we've done some technological development on using LiDAR as a low-cost technology to measure water level and to ingest those data into flood forecasting systems in places where there are no operational river gauging stations, as is unfortunately the case in large regions of Nepal. And we also looked at not just data collection, but also information provision, communication, and what kind of methods and tools need to be used to make sure that the data is also locally available to foster bottom-up and local action on disaster risk resilience. Good, and that's basically all that I wanted to present in these 10 minutes. I very much hope that you enjoyed the talk and that it's maybe a starting point for further interaction and discussion during those 2 days. Thank you very much, and I hope to interact with many of you as well. Thank you.